At Arizona State University, we've made online education better, smarter, and more personalized so you can go further in your aspiring field.
I decided to pursue medicine once I realized that ASU did have the online program for biological sciences. You're still required to learn the same curriculum. You're still being tested on the same content that anyone would be tested on in person. The comprehensiveness of the program prepared me so well for medical school.
Explore over 300 programs at asuonline.asu.edu.
Okay, so lately it seems like everywhere you turn, people are talking about open source intelligence or OSINT. Like it's this big new thing.
Right.
And that's what we're going to dive deep into today.
Cool.
What is it? Why is everybody suddenly making such a big deal about it?
Yeah.
And how can you wrap your head around it quickly?
Okay.
So we're lucky to have some really insightful material to work with here. We're pulling from an interview with Jezer Ferreira, who really knows his stuff in the OSINT world.
Oh, for sure.
He wrote a whole book called OSINT in Social Networks. He's the brains behind the Osintomático event, and his Osintot track at RootedCon was like the talk of the town.
Yeah, it was awesome.
So we want to give you all the key takeaways so that you can understand what OSINT is all about.
That was good.
Why it's getting so much attention.
Uh-huh.
And we'll even touch on some surprising ways it's being used.
Right.
Because it's not just about tech, there's a real human element to it.
It is. Like, OSINT is all about intelligence.
Okay.
But the key here is it's coming from sources that are available to, like, anyone. Publicly available sources.
So things you could find just by searching online.
Exactly.
Okay, that makes sense. But I feel like we've always been able to find stuff online, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, you're not wrong. OSINT itself isn't brand new.
Right.
But it's getting a lot more recognition now as a field in its own right.
Right.
Kind of like how, AI and blockchain were all the rage a while back.
Mm-hmm.
It's got its own dedicated events like the Osintomático thing we mentioned.
Okay.
Books like Jezer's.
Okay.
And you even see job titles now specifically for OSINT experts, especially in cybersecurity.
So it's not just about finding stuff online then, right?
Right.
What do people actually do with this information?
Well, there are two main ways it's used.
Okay.
Offensively and defensively.
Gotcha. So on the offensive side, how's it used?
Think of it like this. You've got things like penetration testing.
Okay.
Where you're basically simulating a cyber attack to try to find weak points in a system.
Right, right.
And then there's red teaming, which is like mimicking what a real attacker would do.
Okay.
So for both of these, OSINT is used to like gather intel on your target.
Okay.
Their websites, their networks, even their employees.
So what kind of information are we talking about?
Oh, it could be anything. You might find, I don't know, exposed credentials.
Like passwords and stuff?
Exactly. Maybe someone accidentally left them in a public code repository.
Oh, wow.
Or like a database that's not configured properly.
Uh-huh.
Or you could find personal details that you could use for social engineering attacks.
So that's like tricking people into giving up information.
Exactly.
Okay, so that's the offensive side. What about defensively? How is OSINT used there?
Defensively, it's all about protecting yourself.
Okay.
So you're monitoring your organization's online presence, looking for potential threats. Maybe someone's talking about your company or vulnerabilities you might not know about. It's all about staying ahead of the game.
Right.
Even law enforcement is using OSINT more and more.
Really?
Oh, yeah. They use it to investigate cybercrime.
Okay.
But also regular crimes, too.
Oh, wow. I never would have thought of that.
Yeah, like maybe they're tracking down someone selling illegal stuff online.
Interesting.
Or looking into services that are like fronts for criminal activity.
Wow. So it goes way beyond just hacking and cybersecurity then.
Definitely.
And it seems like the fact that we all put so much stuff online is a big factor here.
Huge, actually.
Yeah.
Jezer talks a lot about how the sheer volume of personal information people share online is a gold mine for OSINT.
Yeah, true. We don't always think about what we're putting out there.
And that's what makes it so powerful. Like all this publicly available data just waiting to be analyzed.
The thing that really struck me was Jezer's point about el fallo humano, human error.
Oh, yeah. He says that's often how you get the information you need. It's like people are just giving it away.
It's not always about fancy tools or some amazing intuition then.
Not always. No.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's just people making mistakes.
Do you have any examples of that? Like what kind of things are we talking about?
Oh, he had some good ones.
Okay.
Like new employees, all excited about their new job. They post pictures of their welcome kit on LinkedIn or Instagram.
Right.
But those kits often have laptops, company ID badges, stuff like that.
And that can reveal a lot about the company's security.
Exactly. they're unintentionally giving away information about their hardware, their security protocols.
Makes sense. And it's not just new hires who do this, right?
Nope. You see people posting about new jobs all the time.
Yeah, for sure.
New job, new badge. Boom, there's a picture of their company ID.
Right.
All that information just out there for anyone to see.
It's so easy to forget that it's all public.
It is. And then you have people who try to be super careful, private profiles, different email addresses, the whole 9 yards.
But they still slip up.
Oh, they always slip up. Like Sherlock Holmes said, the secret is in the clues that one leaves.
I love that quote.
It's so true. We all make mistakes, leave traces.
Right, right.
And those tiny details, the ones we think are insignificant, those can be the key to unlocking a whole investigation.
So is it fair to say that the key to OSINT isn't just having the right software?
Definitely not. Tech is a part of it, but it's not the whole story.
Okay.
Jezer says the real power is in the human element.
So human intelligence.
Yes, and social engineering.
Which is basically the art of manipulating people to get what you want.
Exactly.
We talked about the offensive side of OSINT earlier.
Right.
And this ties right into that.
Because you need to understand people, their weaknesses, how to exploit them.
This is where it gets really interesting for me because it's not just theoretical anymore.
Oh, yeah.
Jezer told this fascinating story about an investigation by Agustin Constante, and it all centered around Strava.
Ah, the fitness tracking app.
Exactly. People track their runs, bike rides, and they often share the routes publicly.
Right.
So what did Constante do with that?
Well, he wanted to see what he could find out by looking at activity patterns near sensitive locations. Like nuclear power plants, prisons, critical infrastructure.
Okay.
He even used a fake GPS location.
To see what data was being shared in those areas.
Yeah.
Oh, and did he find anything?
Oh, yeah. He found that prison officials who used smartwatches to track their steps, they were broadcasting their location.
Oh, wow.
Even their patrol schedules within the prison.
No way.
All through their Strava data.
That's crazy. It's like that movie trope where the inmates meticulously track the guards' movement.
Exactly. But this was happening unintentionally.
Just through everyday fitness tracking.
That's crazy, right?
It really highlights the unintended consequences of sharing data.
It does. And then there was that even more serious case during the war in Ukraine.
Oh, right. The Russian general.
Yeah. Reports said he was killed after he shared his cycling routes on Strava.
That's chilling.
It really shows you the potential consequences of something that seems so harmless.
Absolutely. It makes you think twice about what you're putting out there.
Definitely.
Jezer also mentioned a really cool example of social engineering during a red teaming exercise.
Oh, yeah, that one was good.
They had to figure out how many devices were in an office, but they couldn't get caught.
Right.
So how did they use OSINT?
Well, first, they used it to find a new employee at the company.
Someone who might not be as security aware.
Exactly. Then they used social engineering to actually get into the building.
What do you mean?
They dressed professionally, used the right language, acted like they belonged.
Wow.
And once they were in, they found that new employee.
Okay.
Used a bit more social engineering to borrow their access card. Plumbed it with a device called a Flipper Zero.
While someone else created a distraction. Right. So they combined publicly available information with social engineering skills to achieve their goal.
And bypassed any need to hack into the system directly.
That's amazing.
It's pretty impressive.
It really makes you realize why OSINT is becoming so important.
Especially for businesses and security forces.
Right.
Jezer says that law enforcement and companies are finally starting to get it.
That OSINT is a valuable tool.
Yeah. Big companies often have whole departments dedicated to intelligence gathering and threat hunting.
Makes sense.
And the beauty of OSINT is that it's not just reactive.
Okay.
You can use it proactively to prevent problems before they happen.
Can you give an example?
Sure. Imagine you're a telecom company.
Okay.
You need to know if there are any vulnerabilities in the products your suppliers are using.
Right.
So you use OSINT to monitor online sources.
Looking for any mentions of those vulnerabilities.
Exactly. That way you can stay ahead of the curve.
And potentially avoid a major security breach.
Exactly.
So what about smaller and medium-sized businesses?
Well, Jezer says they need to catch up.
Because
the threats are only going to get more complex.
And OSINT is essential for staying protected.
Absolutely.
So for our listeners who want to learn more about OSINT, Jezer had a couple of recommendations.
He did.
First, his book, OSINT in Social Networks.
Great place to start. It covers the basics and gives you a real understanding of how to apply OSINT techniques.
And he also mentioned the Osintomático event.
Yeah, it's a great opportunity to immerse yourself in the world of OSINT.
Okay.
You'll learn about the latest tools and methods and meet other professionals in the field.
Sounds like a fantastic way to stay up to date.
It is.
So to sum up our deep dive into OSINT, it's a powerful way to use publicly available information.
Right.
Both for staying secure and gathering intel.
And its importance is only going to grow as we share more and more online.
Exactly. And it's not just about fancy tech.
Yeah.
It's about understanding people.
Their behavior.
And the information they might be revealing without even realizing it.
Exactly.
Now, here's something for you to think about. What kind of picture could someone paint about you or your organization just by using open sources?
That's a good question.
What traces are you leaving online?
Yeah.
And what steps can you take to manage that?
It's something we should all be thinking about.
It's both fascinating and a little bit scary, isn't it?
It is. It really is.
Thanks for listening, everybody, and we'll see you next time.
At Arizona State University, we've made online education better, smarter, and more personalized so you can go further in your aspiring field.
I decided to pursue medicine once I realized that ASU did have the online program for biological sciences. You're still required to learn the same curriculum. You're still being tested on the same content that anyone would be tested on in person. The comprehensiveness of the program prepared me so well for medical school.
Explore over 300 programs at asuonline.asu.edu.